Hello, Shocker Nation, and welcome to an introductory interview with new Wichita State men's head basketball coach Paul Mills. And Coach, we welcome you to Wichita, and I guess the obvious first question is, you've had a successful tenure at Oral Roberts, had a long-term contract there, your name's been mentioned in other searches, so what was it about Wichita State that you decided this was the place to go?
Mike, this is an honor, especially after 43 years of you seeing a lot of basketball. So I've heard you before, so thank you. Because I've been here on the opponent side, I recognize the decibel levels that can happen in Charles Koch Arena, and you realize the home court advantage. I mean, it's one of the best in the country. It's considerably louder than the vast majority of arenas in the country. So one, a passionate fan base makes it an easy draw. There is also a rich history here, and I'm old enough to remember Xavier McDaniel in the NBA and all that's involved. And you see the current players from Landry to Fred VanVleet, and you're also aware that within the last decade, there's been a Final Four. And people are used to winning around here. So a rich history, a winning tradition, a passionate fan base makes it a really easy decision to be in Wichita.
Even with what I'm sure you recognize are expectations, it might be a little beyond a first-time job at a lot of places.
Yeah, you're absolutely okay with that. You know, I mean, we were fortunate to expect to win at ORU this past year. Fortunately, we did. And I think that's the expectation. For me, I hate losing more than I like winning, because winning is what you anticipate. Winning is what you work and expect to do. So losing is not what you anticipated. So to be in an environment where people expect winning, you won't be timid about it or shy away from it.
How would you describe, in maybe a few words, your coaching philosophy, if you will?
Yeah, you have to prioritize players. Players are the most important thing. You need to make sure that everything allows them to succeed. So the priority of players is, for me, is paramount. Nothing else matters but those guys. I do not get a rebound. I will not make a free throw. And so how do we get those guys better? What are the things? Because the better that we can get a player, the better we can get a team. So development's a huge part of it, but you're constantly prioritizing players.
You have certainly kind of shown a style in your days at Oral Roberts, and is that something you want to continue, or does that just totally depend on personnel and what you have to adapt to?
Yeah, from a basketball standpoint, we've been number one in the country the last 4 years at not giving the ball to the other team. I would like to continue that. The more we have the ball and the less we can give it to the opponent. So we have been really good at not turning it over. The more that we can share a basketball, and obviously being able to have a high assist to turnover percentage, I think that bodes well. I think everything else comes down to who do you have. You know, at ORU, I've coached teams that have been top 12 in the country in offensive rebounding because you didn't have perimeter shooters. I've coached teams that have consistently been number one at making threes. So I think of a lot of it just comes down to what is the personnel that you have in the locker room. But taking care of the basketball will rank pretty high on the list of things we need to get done.
You came to Oral Roberts after 14 years on the staff at Baylor, and you were mates with 3 other guys who have gone on also to very good success as Division I head coaches. I just wondered what it was about Coach Drew and the atmosphere that he created there that helped all of you become successful head coaches.
One, when I became a head coach for the first time, in my mind, it wasn't the first time. Scott gave us a ton of autonomy and allowed us to coach, allow us to be ourselves and to figure out things. It was never, hey, you're working for me. It was always, you're working with me. And you realize that we were working with each other in order to propel Baylor at that time forward. And, you know, I was fortunate to be a part of a team that went to 4 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite 8s. We were number one in the country. But a lot of that is Scott's servant leadership model and how he just wants to help. He would often tell us, many hands make light work. And so he gave us a lot of responsibilities, gave us the space in order to get it. So we never had to be micromanaged, and it was his style. And you've seen a lot of these guys, Jerome Tang at Kansas State, Grant McCaslin at North Texas, Matt Driscoll at North Florida, he's the all-time winningest coach, go on and have a ton of success.
And having come from that background, that philosophy, I'm sure it plays into your own selection of a staff, and I'm sure that's a very quick priority for you moving into this job.
Probably outside of prioritizing players, that is. And so, you know, I've been fortunate to be in this business for 28 years. So you get to know a lot of people. You get to have relationships with people. I've worked with wonderful people. And so we'll put a staff together really quick and feel very confident about our ability to do what we need to do in order to get Shocker Nation back nationally ranked.
And that's probably the biggest question on fans' minds, is putting together a roster in this day and time where you're going to have players here who are eligible to return, but how do you decide? How do you find out quickly about them? Do you want all of them back? And then recruiting at high school and junior college levels and the portal. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to be going crazy for a while.
Yeah, it's a fun crazy though. I enjoy putting together a roster and seeing what works. And, you know, we want people who want to be Shockers to be here. People, there's only one or two options. You're either committed or you're not. And so anybody who wants to be here and understand the pride that this university has, understand the passionate fan base, and they want to be a part of it, we want them a part of it. So I look forward to the conversations with the current players. I've had a number of conversations with guys currently in the portal, and so that this is a constant navigation process, but I am confident we can get a roster really well that can compete in the American.
You used the term prioritizing players, and Jerome Tang was asked about you and this move here yesterday, had some very nice things to say, and one of them that he said was you have a passion about working with young people, and I wanted to ask you about the type of climate and experience that you try to create and provide for the young men that come through your program.
Yeah, people go to college to get paid. You go to study accounting to be an accountant. You go to study engineering to be an engineer. Basketball players want to pursue a professional career. So you want to help them. You know, staff that we currently have has coached 30 NBA guys. I've coached 14 NBA guys, 10 of which were never considered top 100 high school players. And you're just trying to get them better. How do we get you better? And so from a development piece, that's such a huge part of it. But again, the better we can get a player, the better we can get a team. And we do want these guys to go on and have professional careers, while at the same time being able to utilize the education here at WSU in order to have an opportunity to move into broader spectrums whenever their career is ended.
And your personal beliefs are well known. You are a candidate, a finalist for the Skip Prosser Man of the Year, which recognizes not only coaching excellence, but moral integrity off the court. So I'm sure that character building for future life is also a big piece of all this.
Good people make good players. You and I know really talented players who are knuckleheads, and it's not hard to figure out why it doesn't work. So absolutely, you want people who have a core to them that means something. And so for us, good people make good players. So you're just trying to find high character individuals. We want high level standards around here with high level people who play high level basketball. And so it's important that you have people whose standards are high.
There have been some videos out there people have seen of you somewhat fiery on the sideline. How would you describe yourself as a coach on the sideline and the way you deal with your players?
Probably depends on the moment, right? You know, you can be fiery towards officials. If you do try to give your players a lot of patience, specifically in practice. If you're messing up the fourth and fifth time, you'll probably draw some ire from somebody on the coaching staff. But I think a lot of it's just determined on the personality. I'm a guy who enjoys being challenged. The more you challenge me, the more I kind of make up my mind to get something done. In the same way, there are people who need encouragement, and they need to told that they're doing well in difficult moments. So I think a lot of it just comes down to the personality. There's obviously no one way, but you will see a guy that is pretty fiery and passionate about trying to get things right, especially when we're out there in that 94 by 50 foot court.
There's one personal story about you I want to relate because I think it certainly tells something about you and people would find it very interesting. at Baylor, you were promoted from being the director of operations to a full-time assistant, at which time you received a courtesy car. You were driving a Honda Accord, which you then gave to a woman you had never met because you had seen her waiting every day at the bus stop.
Right. Yeah, people when they heard, I have no idea, one, how Scott Drew ever found out that story. We never, it was done behind closed doors. I thought the only other person who knew about it was my wife. Scott overheard me on the phone, I think, talking to my wife one day because we had to make sure the title was in place. When people approach me and they've asked me about that story, it wasn't an Escalade or anything. It was a Honda Accord, and I didn't need it anymore. And you just realize that there are people out there who need things, and if you can help them, find a way to help them. So I didn't need the car anymore, and you saw someone who needed it, and so trying to find a way in order to help people is what you're doing with your own players. How do we serve you and help you? That was a small way that we could help somebody.
One other interesting little story I found. I have seen that by your own estimation, you have seen the movie Hoosiers maybe over 1,000 times, know every word. Now, it's a great movie with a basketball theme based on a true story, but I have to ask if it provides some type of inspiration when you watch it, if it takes you back to certain principles, or what is it about?
Yeah, everybody thinks I sit there and watch it. I don't, at this point in my life, sit there and watch it. It's on. I kind of have a pregame routine, after the pregame meal, say a 7 o'clock tip-off, you're usually back to your hotel room around 3, and I usually put it on, and it's just in the background. But because through osmosis, you've just heard it so many times through the thousands of games that you've been able to be a part of, you've learned every single line through the course of the years. I was fascinated by it because all I wanted to do was make a community be proud of their basketball team, which is what the movie Hoosiers does. And I look forward to making that alignment here in Wichita.
Well, I'm sure everyone looking forward to you making that alignment. It's a great pleasure to spend some time with you, and we look forward to moving forward with you as the head basketball coach.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Paul Mills, Wichita State's new men's head basketball coach. Thank you all for joining us.